labs that I didn't mention before is we have to remember one of the pitfalls and also tragedies in many different ways when it comes to lab results, as I believe that labs, although important, they should only be a guide, but never decide what kind of therapy you deserve as a human being. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, if we're just treating numbers and not treating people, then we're missing a large part of it, because what we're doing the majority of the time, unless you get like a special saliva test or urine test, is we're checking our blood, right? Our blood levels. Okay. But your blood levels don't necessarily tell me what's getting into your cells.
Mm.
Okay. So it's that situation of like, hey, your labs look good, but if you don't feel good, how well are those numbers actually working in your body? Kind of like if you guys are going to have a celebration, it's Chase's birthday, he's having the old Sonics come over to his house and celebrate Perry Payne and all that guys. But he's like, hey, oh, they're all coming. Okay, I see them through the window. All right. So they're walking up to your front door, they're knocking on your front door, and you can't let them in. So
Yeah.
this is a scenario that I described to our guests. It's like the front lawn in the driveway and everything is like your blood. Your cell is your house. So if I was to ask you guys, hey Chase, are the Sonics there? Yeah, man, they're here. Great, but they're outside. I can't let them in,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So it's not, so that's kind of like the blood outside of the house, but we want them inside to celebrate, right? So
Totally.
yeah, and so that's the difference in the trouble we get into when we talk about just reading numbers, because those are blood levels. How you
Mm-hmm.
feel, what you're experiencing tells me if those levels are actually getting into your cells and doing a good job. And there's two, polar worlds that we're missing as clinicians. Why? Because we're just treating numbers.
Totally. It's like the Zillow estimate online for your house. It
Yeah,
sort of like only picks up, what it looks like from outside or what the neighboring properties are valued at. It has no
yeah.
idea if you've been trashing the inside of the house or
If there's
or
mold.
or maybe you put a remodel inside, and the property value is even higher. That's the house analogy is so
That's
perfect.
so great. Yeah, I think that gives people a really good visual because, we talk about blood work all the time and the importance of blood work and not just having just an onslaught of supplements because you saw a cool Instagram ad for it or whatever. I think sometimes I even get this where people are looking to me to guide them on which supplements to get for themselves. And of course, I could, sling our code here and there and receive some commission. But what I tell them is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You need something, a person to help you, looking at your blood work, looking at your tests. And that is like you said, like a guide. And then also, really reflecting on how do you feel though. And so is the how the person feels is really the main indicator of if it's getting into your cells, or is there another way to measure or have insight into is it really getting into the cells like you're talking about?
Yeah, no, great questions. I think the labs, that does give us good feedback. So if your labs say you have a level that's high or low, and you want to improve that, and you start them on say vitamin D, and the vitamin D now is elevated, that's a good indicator that hey, things are working. But a lot of times it is what they're feeling, what they're experiencing. Because I could say that hey, your thyroid's normal, but you're still gaining weight, you're losing your hair, you have mental fog, you have your body temperature issues. And it's like, well, your labs are normal. And so I think that, yeah, I think if you were to ask me, what is the deciding factor, a lot of times it is what they're experiencing, what they're feeling. But not only when we talk about labs, not only how are we looking at these results in what lenses, just normal or optimal, but it's also about knowing which labs to order. Because I can order the bare minimum and they can all be optimal, but you still don't feel well. And a lot of times that's one of the things where I believe when we talk about, regenerative medicine comes into play, because we're really trying to get down to those root causes. So we got to go dive deeper. When it comes to the thyroid, I do a lot of thyroid at my clinic, and a lot of times our guests are just getting like, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, which is a communication hormone, which is very important. But what about, T4, T3, reverse T3, TPO, thyroid globulin, iodine, selenium, all these different things that actually help us understand the true function of the thyroid. If we're not getting those, I really don't have any idea how your thyroid's working at all. So it's not, again, so it's about ordering the correct labs and also the proper interpretation, not to get you normal, but to get you optimal. And that's where I feel that, we can really help people along that journey, but also a big, gosh, how do I say this? It's a tragedy in many ways because people aren't getting that treatment. And it's not the fault of the clinician, because that's the way we're taught. That's the way we're trained, is breaking that mold in that repetition that we're taught in school to really say, what else is out there? Are we doing everything, or are we just doing the bare minimum?
Yeah.
Totally.